All right, welcome to another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. Your boy Pat Lane here, as always, with my guy Matt St. Jean. An instant reaction show, kind of, not quite, kind of. Of course, yesterday was Christmas Eve. Patriots played on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to all of you out there listening that
Mhm.
celebrate Christmas. Thank you for joining us on Christmas night for a not so instant reaction to the Patriots Christmas miracle win and a Christmas redemption. I like that for Chad Ryland. As always, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sports wagering partner of CLNS Media. Go to FanDuel.com/Boston to sign up today. And I give you after every game, I give you some music. And this one felt appropriate because last Christmas Eve, the Patriots played. They played the Bengals. They had a chance to win at the end of the game. And Mac Jones and Ramondre Stevenson couldn't get it done. But this year, Bailey Zappi and Ezekiel Elliott could get it done. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. But yes, I figured it was appropriate for the day, especially with Bailey Zappi coming in and treating our hearts a little bit better than Mac Jones. If frankly, right?
Does Zappy have as many like game-winning drives now as Mac ever had? That's kind of
Probably one.
yeah. Oh no, Mac had two. So
That's true. Good point.
yeah, the one
That's
in
a good point.
Houston as a rookie.
Yes, that's right. I was at that game. That's right.
Weird game, weird
It was a
vibes in that game.
really weird game. Yes, Devin
Yeah.
McCourty with one of the worst angles of all time on their long pass play to I don't even know
Was
who
that
the
the
heck caught that
Chris?
pass.
Was that the Chris Moore game for Houston, or was that the year before where he just went off?
It might have
It
been
was.
Chris Moore. It was some random dude caught a wicked long touchdown pass, and McCourty had like the perfect angle and just completely botched it. And it was like a 75-yard touchdown pass or something like that. So I don't remember if it was Chris Moore or if it was somebody else, but I do remember that game being a terrible game, and the Patriots ended up coming back and winning. The first half was like embarrassing. I remember they had Ramondre in that game too, was stretching for the end zone and fumbled at the goal line
I
in the first
forgot
half
about
of that
that.
game. So that was a bizarre game. So,
Yeah, that
anyways,
was the Chris Moore game.
there you go.
I
So
looked it up.
Chris Moore, the cut the
He
long pass.
had 5 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And the touchdown was a 67-yarder.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, it was just. I mean, I remember seeing the ball in the air, and I'm like, "Oh, McCourty's got it," and just being like, "Wait, what the hell just happened?" So
Yeah.
yeah, it was not a great game, but they won, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. Listen, and we'll talk about the tanking and the draft pick and everything else, but all that aside, it was a really fun game. I mean, it was like as
Entertaining.
you know, as a someone who didn't have anything invested. If you were someone that didn't have anything invested in the game, it was a fun game to watch. And so, those are always the things where you're like, hey, let's have some fun. And they did. It looks like Colleen was at the game with me. She wasn't with me, but she was at the
Yeah.
game. Me and
Yeah, no,
Keaton were at that game, and that
yeah.
was a fun game. Anyways,
Yeah.
but a lot of fun last night, I thought.
Yeah, entertaining game. Lots of weird stuff happening, and I don't know. There weren't a lot of. If you look at the final box score, there weren't a lot of yards in this game, but it felt like every
Yeah.
offensive drive was either a 3 and out with something impressive happening on the defensive side, or a long sustained drive with lots of little plays. So there was kind of always something going on, which was nice. You get the back-to-back scores by New England to go up, and then a comeback bid, and then Patriots answering, which, by the way, we're going back to the general framing of the things that happened on Sunday for the Patriots. You talk about this game, and the Jets Commanders game with a
Mhm.
comeback that then the field goal goes the other way and ends it. And the Packers Panthers game was the same thing. And you got 3 games there decided by
Yep.
field goals with a lot of draft position hanging in the balance on all 3 of those. And if you're rooting for the Patriots to pick high, obviously not going their way there, but the actual product on the field, the Patriots looked mostly put together outside of the first play from scrimmage and good defensive game plan. First defense or special teams touchdown since week 17 of last season. We went almost a year without one.
Yeah.
And that was the Kyle Duggar pick 6 against Miami, where he stiff-armed Teddy Bridgewater going into the end zone.
So great.
And there's something funny about the Patriots. Finally, after the whole season, you don't get bounces. You finally get them to go your way in Denver, of all places. The only place where it would be less likely is Miami for this franchise. Right. So, we got weird luck, weird things going on. You knew it was going to be a weird game on a holiday. It delivered, and it was entertaining.
Yeah, and you start with the first. I mean, just start with the first play, right? If that play had happened in 2001, it would not have been a fumble. That was the quintessential tuck rule, and just the fact that it happened is so fun. Like that to me, I was like, oh my God, that's the tuck rule, And so of course it was a fumble, just like Tom Brady's was a fumble. However, the tuck rule existed back in 2001. And so therefore by rule, it wasn't a fumble. And now the tuck rule does not exist. And so by rule, it was a fumble still. And so, it just becomes one of those situations. And I thought that, they bounced back from that. I mean, to have a goal line stand there on the first drive, I mean, like, right away, instantly, literally, you talk about instant change, right? And, to be thrust onto the field as a defense and step up the way they did. I mean, Mac Wilson almost had that pick. They played, the defense has played great all year long. And I know they had some tough times against the run on Sunday night. On Sunday night. But like, it's not, I mean, they couldn't play the absolute perfect game. And I thought they played an extremely good game. And really is the reason the Patriots won that game.
Well, I think you look at this game and the Pittsburgh game, and the difference was kind of the same in each one. It was what you were able to do with your turnovers. The Broncos forced that early turnover, don't get any points off of it. And I think both Denver turnovers, the Patriots converted into touchdowns, if I'm remembering that correctly. Obviously, one of them was an immediate touchdown from Cody Davis. But just, your ability to cash in those turnovers and make something happen with it, something they haven't forced a lot of turnovers this year. So they haven't been in those positions that much, but that's been the theme here. Even you go back to the Bills game that they won, you start off that game by picking off Josh Allen on his first play from scrimmage, and you turn that into points, and you're able to build a 2-score lead right off the bat. Things like that. It's something they really haven't done all season. I think a lot of that has to do with the injuries on the back end and some bad luck too. I mean, they've been really good with turnovers for a while. I got a stat for you here, Pat. They've forced 16 turnovers so far this season. Only twice under Bill Belichick have they finished with less than 20 in a season defensively. One of those was in 2017 when they forced 18 of them, and the other one was in 2005 when they forced 18 of them. And that 2017 team had talent on defense, and they just couldn't really pull it together. They were missing a couple parts, and that 05 team was injured all throughout on both sides of the ball all year long. And that's kind of the realm you're in. And we're talking about really 3 seasons out of 23 that Bill's been the head coach of this team, that they've forced less than 20 turnovers. They're forcing over a turnover per game, even in those seasons. And I don't know. I think it's bad luck that it's not happening this year. It just
well,
happens. Finally.
Well, that's the thing. And you look at what's happened defensively and the way that they've played, right? And how stout that they've been against the run, and how good that they've been at forcing plays. And they've had plays where they've forced they've forced fumbles, they've forced bad throws, they've had balls tipped in the air, they've done all sorts of things, and it just hasn't rolled their way, right? A few times fumbles have gone out of bounds, or a few times, the ball gets down and the offense recovers it. And, so some of those things happen, right? Which, by the way, just absolutely hilarious from the crew Sunday night, right? When the ball gets fumbled, they pick it up, and Dietrich Wise rips it out of the guy's hands right?
I'll
And
take
I
it,
believe it was
but
Tavai
that
comes
should
up with
not.
it, right? And they were like,
yeah.
"Can you believe that he ripped the ball? I guess it's just okay now." I'm like, dude, what? Like we've been talking about stuff like that happening literally
Well,
forever.
the problem is that usually happens under a pile where nobody can see what happened. It actually
Right.
happened out in the open, and the refs are like, "All right, we'll let it play."
Right.
I don't think
Well, and
that's
then
technically how it's supposed to go, but I'm not going to complain about it.
right, but then you review it and it's like, how can you be sure you had the ball? Was it still moving? Like, how do you know? So,
It's
you know,
yeah,
it's tough to call. I do kind of agree that it was a little curious that they let that go, but it was
I'll take it.
right. What the heck? You know
Yeah,
what I mean? We
and
we
yeah,
deserve some of that.
and when you look at the lack of turnovers too, you lose
Yeah.
Devin McCourty, who is a ball hawk on the back end.
Hmm.
That is going to be part of it. Kyle Duggar was a big reason why they forced turnovers last year, and he hasn't been that guy this year. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Like he had a couple rough-ish plays Sunday night too, and I think if you're the Patriots, you feel glad that you didn't offer him a big contract extension over the break coming into the season, and I think he's probably going to get less money in a contract than he would have expected to after last year. So you'll can probably bring him back for a cheaper price because he's
I
been a little
will
bit
I will
disappointing.
say about him though, he brought the wood Sunday night. Like he
Oh, he
was
did.
a
He hits hard.
tackling machine and
Yeah.
he was hitting extremely hard. So that was nice. I mean, he did have some rough plays, but like that was nice to see at least.
Oh yeah, and he's still a very good player. I think he got a little bit lucky on some things last year. Hasn't gone his way as much this year, and Patriots are probably going to get him at a little bit of a discount because of that if they want to bring him back. And you also, I mean, they lost J.C. Jackson. That was go back 2 years, and he was their
Mhm.
ball hawk. And they
Mhm.
replaced that last year with a lot from Jonathan Jones, a guy who historically has not been a turnover guy. Like Jonathan Jones is a good player, but his biggest weakness as a corner is like at the catch point. He doesn't have the longest arms, and he isn't
Right.
always able to break up passes or turn breakups into interceptions. I think you've seen that. And you've got Marcus Jones when he was out there, who's very much the same way. And for turnovers, you're relying on Christian Gonzalez, who was good in the 3 games he played. Jack Jones, who, as we see today, still has no issues forcing turnovers. It's the
Right.
other stuff that's the issue.
Yep.
And J.C. Jackson comes in as a guy who, like we said, historically has been a ball hawk, and he's not the same player he was when he was
No.
in New England.
Right.
And you lose all that. Plus, the pass rush has been tough, and you're not putting the pressure on opposing quarterbacks to make mistakes, and you don't have guys who can capitalize as much on the back end. But they brought pressure. I thought that was the most pressure we've seen them bring in a game against Denver. It was effective.
Oh yeah.
Christian Barmore led that. All kinds of safety and corner blitzes. And I saw number 2 and number 27 in the backfield way more than I expected to. And that's how you get things going your way. You get guys around the ball, and you're able to force a quarterback to make decisions under duress. And finally, you end up getting some of the turnover luck coming your way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. By the way, Becky asked a good question in the chat. We're going to get to it, Becky, but we're just not at that point yet. But we will get to it because we were
We're
talking
going
about
to
that
circle
off air.
around to the future here at some point, but we'll stay
Yeah.
with the actual game last night for
Right,
now.
right. And so we talked about Barmore, and Bunch over here says that Barmore continues to be an animal, which he is just incredible. He's a guy that is up for an extension at the end of the year.
He's
and
got 1 year left, but they can extend him starting at the end of the season.
Correct. He wasn't available to be extended until this upcoming offseason. Pay him. Just friggin' pay him. I've been using the KGB, Teddy KGB, for those of you that have seen Rounders before, when John Malkovich loses and he's just like, pay that man his money. Like I'm like, that's the gift. Like just use it. I've been just spamming that. Like just pay him because he's been dominant against the run this year, right? He's been dominant against the run. And you've seen it against the pass. You knew he had some of the pass stuff in there. He's built his repertoire. I mean, my God, like he just embarrassed that offensive line last night.
Yeah.
And then also played well against the run. And so it's like, you can't, right? And Scott says you can't pay too much for a guy like that. Like, and he's not saying don't pay too much. He's saying you literally can't pay too much. And so that's the guy. Pay him. Bring him in, sign him long term, like do whatever you got to do, but have that guy stay here.
I don't know exactly how to make this work in my head, but Christian Barmore is the Gronk of the defense. Like, it's not the same,
Yeah.
but it's the
Right.
same in that he's like a physical freak who can take over games at a position where, like, you don't always get guys like that, but when you do, it's special.
Yep.
Um,
Chris
and
Jones.
when I think of Chris Jones or the defense that I think of when I think of a team that has that elite defensive tackle and an elite corner, if that's what Christian Gonzalez is going to turn out to be, it's the Rams when
Yeah.
they won it, and they had the personnel that made Brandon Staley look like he should be an NFL head coach defensively. Was you have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey back there, and when you got two guys like that, it becomes a lot easier to make the rest of your defense. You just have two
Very
guys
true.
who can do things like that. And Barmore's not Aaron Donald here, but he is elite. Though it's the way he has played lately, and Christian Gonzalez flashed that when he was in. And if you can get that from those two guys, and you sign Barmore and you got Gonzalez, that's the foundation of a championship defense. And it makes building that defense a lot easier. Because building that defense is easier, you can spend a lot more assets building the offense and try to fix it. And you don't necessarily need an elite offense with a defense like that. And I'd also add, we don't know what things are going to look like in 14 months.
Right.
When we talk about the draft and what that's going to do for the Patriots at the quarterback position. Talk about the Rams. They thought they had a guy, and they didn't. And they went out and got Stafford because he hit the market. And, sometimes guys hit the market, and you're able to upgrade because you get lucky you get the timing right. So.
Well, and that's what it comes down to, right? And you sit there and say, all right, what do we have to do? Well, you want to bring Matthew Judon back, but having a guy like Barmore in the middle makes your life easier with Matthew Judon on one side. Do you want to roll with Keon White? Do you want to say, no, we see Keon White more as a rotational piece? Okay, fine. Bring another guy in that's another edge rusher, but it doesn't have to be Josh Uche. You don't have to overpay for that second edge rusher position because you have a guy that can rush the passer in the middle. And that it just makes everything so much easier. And look, I think what you've seen defensively from linebacker, right, with Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavai, and now the fact that you're getting play from Mac Wilson. I mean, you look at it and say, this defense, what do we have to add defensively? Okay, we could add another corner, maybe. We could add another safety, right, depending on where you're looking for, and probably another defensive end. But you don't have to go out and sign any elite players at any of those spots because you feel pretty good about where you are. And so now you can look at it and say, okay, well, wait a second. We spent our first, second, and third round pick on our defense. Now next year we can spend our first, second, and third round pick on our offense because that's what we can focus on more, right? We can sign an offensive tackle in free agency, and we can draft a wide receiver or a quarterback if we want. So we can do all of those things, and having the defense allows you to do that.
And not only that, I mean, schematically too, with what Barmore does, the way he's emerged as a run defender and the way he eats up space there, it seems like he requires two offensive linemen on like basically every play from scrimmage, which also stamina was an issue for him coming out of college. Not worried about that anymore. You see, so what he did at a mile high altitude.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that anymore. And if you can stuff the run like that on the interior, it means you can get more flexible with the rest of your defensive line. You can afford to put more designated pass rushers out there when you want to, because there's less, responsibility on them. They have to do less in the running game. It's got a guy in the middle who can do that. And even the other defensive tackles, you can specialize a bit. Wouldn't be surprised if we see the depth shaken up there in the offseason just for contract reasons.
Yeah.
But that's okay because you can plug and play any mid-level free agent at defensive tackle next to Barmore and be fine. You don't have to worry about it. Like that works. Yeah. And if you, depending on how the market looks, if you got a chance to sign an elite defensive tackle and you want to pair them together, now you got the chance to have a very unique and formidable pass rush from the inside that if you got two guys who can rush the passer from the inside and stop the run, that makes your life hell if you're a pocket quarterback and you can eat up a lot of the AFC and make every game competitive just on that basis alone.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And that's kind of where you can look at it and say, like, okay, we're set defensively, right? And you mentioned already, you don't need a top 10 offense. if you have a defense like that, right? And we had projected these, and we've talked about it on here before. We projected the Patriots to win 10 or 11 games this year because I thought defensively or offensively, I'm sorry, they could get to that top 15 to 20. And I figure if you can get to that top 15 to 20, you have the defense to allow you to stay in these games. And we can look at this and say, well, 100%. I mean, all you have to do is get competent play from your offense. You saw it against Pittsburgh. You saw it Sunday night against Denver. You see it in these games. If you can get competent play from your offense, and by the way, and Bailey Zappi, I'm going to get into Zappi, and he's fine. He's not the best player in the world, but even though he's not super consistent, he makes plays, right? And so that's really the problem, is that he makes plays. And so, I shouldn't say that's really the problem. That's the truth, is that he makes plays. Now, is he a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? I don't believe so. But I do believe that he's, that he's good enough to get you to that top 15, that top 20-ish offense. And with a defense as good as we have right now, they'd be a fringe playoff team.
I don't know if I'd go that far, just because we've seen the good Zappy games, but we've seen the bad ones too.
True.
We got 2 more games here, and he seems to be up and down. If he's able to stay up for any sustained stretch, then I think that'll get my attention. But I do think what's notable is it's a combination of 2 things. He is able to hang in the pocket. Outside of, he had 1 or 2 bad plays on that regard, but for the most part, he's able to hang in there and make plays from the pocket, and can step into throws and can sense pressure. And he's very trusting of his receivers. He's willing to throw jump balls, and it seems like he throws a catchable ball on the jump balls. And
shout out to Devontae Parker.
Yeah, that is something that we seem to be getting. You saw it with DeMario Douglas, and that's kind of the play that's stuck in my head, where that play where he's under pressure and he steps up as he's moving forward to the line of scrimmage. And DeMario Douglas isn't open, but he throws it and he gives it a chance. And I think this is one of the things we've kind of missed when evaluating Mac Jones too. I don't know about missed, but we haven't talked about. It's easy to look at the film and say, hey, nobody's open. What is Mac supposed to do? But NFL quarterbacks find ways to make accurate throws to guys who are covered, where they can make good plays on the football. Correct. And I think we've seen Zappy do that more consistently with his accuracy, and more importantly, more consistently with his timing than Mac Jones ever did.
100%.
When Mac did that, he was rolling out of the pocket and throwing under pressure and off his back foot and out of structure of the play. And Zappy's able to do it kind of in a rhythm, which I think helps those guys. And you look at the second to last play on offense there, the throw to Parker to get them right up to the edge of field goal range. Parker's not open there. He's just giving them a chance.
Right.
We've seen that be a 50-50 ball at best for Parker this year, but he came down with that one.
Well, and look, I mean, yeah, it's funny that Parker is such a different player with Zappy there, but I think he right now, he gives you a better opportunity to win, a better chance to win, right? City of Champs is obviously a big Zappy fan. We get it, right? But I will say, one thing that we never saw Mac do, and sorry, I know Patriots for Christ is saying never mention Mac Jones again. I'm going to do it right now. One thing that he didn't do really at all this year is move in the pocket well, throw while stepping up, throw while avoiding pressure, right? And those are things that you have to do. And he did it pretty well his rookie year. And he did it at times last year. Not great, but decent. But he didn't do it at all this year. And Tom Brady is the great example, right? Tom Brady's not athletic at all, right? I might be able to beat Tom Brady in a race. It'd be close, but I might. But the way he avoided pressure in the pocket, just slight, subtle, slide here, slide there, slide up, slide back. So he was incredible at it. He's one of the best that's ever done it at that. You don't have to be super athletic, but you do have to have great pocket awareness. One of the things that Zappy really doesn't have is a clock in his head. He holds on to the ball way too long, and he's trying to make a play. And I get that. He's trying to make a play. But, he needs to get better at that. But he does a nice job avoiding pressure in the pocket. And then he's not afraid to step up into the pocket The Zay Flowers throw, Zay Flowers, Jesus, the Demario Douglas throw was one that he stepped up and chucked it downfield and allowed Douglas to make a play on it, like you said. He made a few of those types throws where you said, okay, he's stepping up, or he's moving to his right, or even moving to his left and then stopping and moving up. Those are things that at least you can see him doing. Now, he doesn't do them consistently enough to feel okay with him at quarterback. We talked about this off air, and I'll say it right now. I understand that Bailey Zappi isn't the guy, right? I'm not sitting here saying that Bailey Zappi is the future starting quarterback for the Patriots and so on and so forth. However, if you go into this draft and you say, all right, we like Caleb Williams a lot, we like Drake May a lot, we're drafting 3 or 4 or 5 or wherever we're at, those two guys are gone. We don't love any of the. We like a few guys. Maybe we like Quinn Ewers in the late second round, early third round. Maybe we like Michael Penix Jr. in the late second, whatever the case may be, right? But we don't love any other guys. Maybe you run it back with Zappi. Maybe that's better than signing Jacoby Brissett or signing Kirk Cousins or coming off of a torn Achilles and I don't know, but I just think it wouldn't kill you to do that. Now, are you going to be a playoff team with him there? No. Are you going to win a Super Bowl with him there? I'm almost definitely not, right? But it becomes a situation for me where, I just think, what's the difference? Why pay a veteran journeyman quarterback to come in here and not just run it back with Zappi? Assuming you're not going to try to get the guy this year.
Well, and this is going to be the big question for the next however many months, especially depending on what happens the next 2 weeks and where they pick. It's going to be which quarterbacks are worth taking for this team. Right. Going to be, and probably it's going to come down to how you feel about Jaden Daniels, and how is that a fit with the team? Will he be there when the Patriots pick? Is he worth taking at that spot? Is it worth trading up for a guy? Is it worth trading back? There's going to be a lot going on here. And I think it's hard to say right now that there's any correct answer. We're going to need a lot more information, and we're going to get it.
Right.
But I think Zappi being a guy who sticks around in some capacity next year, the chances of that at least being a good decision have gone up in my eyes. And the other part is, what's the long-term goal here? If the team looks at this draft, like you said, and they don't see the quarterback that is the next guy, and they're not going to get it in free agency, it's probably not worth spending a bunch of money on another quarterback.
Right.
Who not even Kirk Cousins. If you go out, let's say you want Baker Mayfield's better than Bailey Zappi. Don't get me wrong, but he's also not the difference. That's a 1 or 2 win difference, probably 3 win difference over the course of the season, and that's you're paying too much for that probably. So, it's going to depend on the coach. If Bill Belichick stays and is told, hey, this team might not be good next year, but we're trying to be good in 2025 because we know we don't have a quarterback and that can take time, then you basically get a free year to build the team before you drop in a quarterback. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you give Zappi some run, and he's probably not good, but maybe he figures it out and you get a little bit lucky with it. So I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, and this is the big question that we're going to be debating twice a week now for
all summer, all spring,
end of April. So spring. We got 4 months. 4 months we're going to be debating this from here on out, and I'm looking forward to getting into the tape and the evaluations on all the guys, because it's going to be Jaden Daniels, it's going to be the top 2 quarterbacks, and it's going to be all the other offensive weapons at the top.
Yeah.
And that's, you look at what's on this team. Demario Douglas seems like a guy. It seems like you can get decent NFL level wide receiver play on a rotational basis from either Juju or Devontae Parker when they're healthy. Kendrick Bourne is a guy who we know can play. And, you bring back tight ends and you bring back the line. You're able to draft a wide receiver at the top, Marvin Harrison Jr. or not Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, who people really like as well from Washington. Then is adding a legitimate wide receiver 1 to the offense enough that all of these complementary pieces suddenly find a role and it all comes together and looks nice. And Bailey Zappi can be your Brock Purdy, which, I say that as that isn't working out so well for the 49ers right now, as we speak. But
that last interception, by the way, did you see that last interception? I don't know if
I
you
only
watched
saw the
game
return.
Did you see Trent Williams rip the ball out at the end? And they said it. They said it wasn't a fumble. It was really close to being him ripping it out. But all right, one thing, and then we got to get to a break. But Berg just asked a question, and he said, "Love the content, guys," which we appreciate. He's a great guy on Twitter. Always interacting on Twitter. But he said, "Got to ask, do you want the Patriots to win the last 2 games?" So here's the deal for me. If you could tell me that the Bills are going to lose out, are going to miss the playoffs, sign me up. Sign me up. The Patriots have clinched now a top 9 pick. If you said you're going to beat the Bills, but the cost of you beating the Bills, and they're going to miss the playoffs. You're going to beat the Bills, and they're going to miss the playoffs, and the cost of that is you draft number 9, sign me up. Sign me up. I will 100% do that. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I would 100% do that.
Yeah.
I do believe if the Patriots lose out, that they will end up with the number 3 pick. Washington and them are very close in strength of schedule. Washington is playing San Fran and Dallas in their last 2 games. The Patriots are playing the Bills and the Jets. So I think San Fran and Dallas, is 21-9 combined. And the Bills and Jets are 15-15 combined. So just that alone should swing the strength of schedule enough that the Patriots will be drafting number 3 if they lose out. I'd be okay with number 3, of course, right? And I would prefer number 3, I guess. But can you imagine if we knock the Bills out of the playoffs? That would be delicious. And we'd sweep the Bills? Are you kidding me? Incredible.
Pat's going 4-2 in the division and sweeping the Bills and Jets in the year, and they pick in the top 10. It would be really, really funny. And if they do that, I don't think you can fire Bill, like on principle. Right. I don't think you can do that. Now, my answer to the question is kind of nuanced here. One, I'll always root for the team to win while I'm watching them play. Like I like the players. If I'm going to watch the game, I'm rooting for them to win. What's happened is that the deeper into the season we get, the less it hurts for them to lose, and the more you're able to deal with it. The other thing is that I want the result of the game to be reflective of the team that showed up on the field.
Yeah.
I don't want them to go to Buffalo and, have the Bills mostly dominate the game.
And then pull it out.
But the Bills keep settling for field goals, and you get like 1 or 2 lucky plays at the end, and you win a close one, and the offense still looks awful doing it. That doesn't help you. And the flip side is that if you go out there and you're a better team than the Jets, steamroll them. You want that. And we got a lot of guys who I think would like back next season, and you're gonna feel better about wanting them back if they're able to play well in some of these games. That's how that Denver game, that's Christian Barmore. Like, he was a huge reason why Marte Mapu forcing a fumble on the kickoff return that we didn't even talk about. Chad Ryland, a rookie, really getting some redemption there and hitting the game winner. Guys like that stepping up, guys who you think should be important pieces for you going forward, I think is huge. A guy who didn't produce big numbers but had kind of a quietly important play in this game was Tyquan Thornton. They had that 2nd and long in the red zone, and he took a screen that got him down to like the 10-yard line.
Yeah, it was a big play.
That's where they were able to punch it in from there when Zappi hit Gesicki on a really nice read and throw in the red zone. So, guys like that stepping up and making plays, if they win because guys that we want to be around are making plays, that's good. Because the alternative, if those guys don't make plays, you're just that much farther away from being relevant. And, what do you call it? I don't think they were realistically ever the 2nd worst team in football either. I think they played a really hard schedule to start the year and had horrendous injury luck and turnover luck through that whole stretch. And now they're finally playing teams that are around their level, and it's finally about 50-50, and they're balancing out.
Yeah.
I like to compare to the one last point here, Pat. I like to compare to the 2000 Patriots, Bill's first year here in New England, team that went 5-11, 4-9 in 1-score games, an unlucky team. They finished the year 500 in their last 6 games. And they got 3 of their wins there, and they still picked 6th and drafted Richard Seymour, and that worked out for them.
Yeah.
And where the Patriots are, I don't think it's crazy to say that they probably beat the Jets and they end up going 500 here in their last 6 games, and they're probably going to pick somewhere around 6th if that's the case. And you got a chance there to pick, an elite wide receiver, an elite tight end, an elite left tackle who can be a franchise player for you. And it doesn't solve your quarterback issue. You're going to have to figure that out in some other capacity, but you can get a guy, your Richard Seymour on offense in some ways out of that. I think you can be very happy with the draft.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. And we'll see what happens, right? But I do agree that, the young guys is really what you want. If they're playing well, how can you argue with that? How can you say, well, it's bad that we won? Well, if the young guys that you want to play well are playing well, then what do you want them to do? So that's really, that to me is the piece of it. And so we'll see. And are they a legitimate contender now? No, they were eliminated from the playoffs 2 weeks ago. They're obviously not a good team yet, but they are a few players away. And again, you're guaranteed a top 9 pick. So it doesn't really matter what happens these last 2 games. You're going to get a really good player. That's a deep draft with a lot of good players coming out. You're going to get a really good player this year.
Or at least you should have a chance for a real blue chip prospect. I think the only way that you start to feel uneasy is if you're picking 9th, you might be at a spot where top 3 quarterbacks are gone, the top 2 or 3 wide receivers, top 2 tackles, top tight end all gone. And then you might get a little bit anxious, but that's only happening if they win both of these games and I think get a little unlucky. I don't think that's happening. I think they're probably going to pick in that 5 to 7 range. I think that's what's going to happen because I think they beat the Jets, and that's where you end up. You're going to be. I think it's a little bit disappointing that you probably don't end up with the QB unless they pick Jaden Daniels and he's there, or they trade up for somebody. But there's a lot of ways to skin a cat in the NFL these days, and you pick a good player and figure out the rest later.
I agree. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back. We'll come back and we'll talk about. I do want to talk about some of these young guys just briefly, and then we can. I don't want to get into too much draft stuff, but maybe we can talk a little bit of draft. But we'll be back. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. MA 21 plus and present in Mass. Hope is here. First online real money wager only. $5 pre-game moneyline wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. GamblingHelpLineMA.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. All right, so I wanted to get into some of the young players, and I think really what we need to start with is Chad Rowland. Chad Rowland has gotten a lot of hate here, and I think justifiably so, right? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that we could justify why Chad Rowland's gotten a lot of hate. First of all, the kicker is easy to pick on, number one, because they do one thing, and unless they're perfect at it, they're an easy target. Number two, he hasn't been good, right? He's missed a bunch of field goals. He's been very inconsistent. It's not great. And so, there's been a lot of pushback about, well, he stinks and they drafted another terrible kicker and so on and so on and so on. And again, all of that I get. And I've pushed back on it a little bit, and I've talked about how, Adam Vinatieri struggled his rookie year, and Stephen Gostkowski didn't have a great year. And a lot of players kind of struggled at the beginning, right? But, I think Ryland has the leg. He has the accuracy, kind of sometimes. His problem is he's not consistent, and kickers have to be consistent in order to be good, right? And so that's the biggest problem that you see with him. But you wonder how much of it is mental, how much of it is mental, and not only how much of it is mental, can a game like this help him mentally? Can you play a game like this and feel like, all right, I mean, you're not going to play, it's almost impossible to play worse than he played at the beginning of this game, right? To miss the field goal, then to doink one off the upright. And you look at it
Loudest
and just
doink
say,
ever
like,
heard.
oh my God, dude. Someone said like you blew the speakers out or whatever. Like I just don't, you know, or that happens. Well, then he buries the 2 extra points, and then it's a 56-yard field goal to win the game right down the middle. I mean, that was right down the middle, right? And so maybe that gets his confidence going a little bit more. I just think that, we're gonna have to give this kid time anyways. But like he was gonna get replaced. It was gonna be a situation where they were gonna be bringing in kickers this week to be like, bro,
Yeah.
we can't do this anymore.
We're going to do
And
the practice squad thing again, at least, and have
correct,
a tryout during the week. Well,
right,
it's listen to what the coaches have said. It's pretty clear he's making the kicks in practice.
right,
And look at his college numbers. His last 3 years in college, he missed a total of 8 kicks, or I
right.
think 9 kicks. I think he has 9 misses this year. It's not like the guy can't do it. He can do it in cold weather, and he did it in high pressure situations. It's just some guys get to the next level and get the yips. Making a kick like that is nice. I want to throw some other numbers at you here, Pat.
Yeah.
There was a kicker who went 22 of 32 as a rookie making field goals, 68.8% on the season. That kicker's name was Sebastian Janikowski for the Raiders, who went on to have a fantastic career. And Ryland's right in that same territory right now for his numbers. I think he's at 65%. That's but it's about the same.
Yeah.
For the difference in field goals attempts. So you know what? He's got all the traits that you would want in a kicker in theory, and it is just mental. And he made that kick, and maybe that helps him out. I don't think there's a world here where you're not bringing Chad Ryland back to camp next year, regardless of what happened. He was highly regarded coming out of college. He was a good kicker in college. He has the traits. We've seen him make big kicks now in the NFL. Sometimes it takes guys a little bit to actually figure it out at the next level with the increased pressure and slightly different ball and different uprights. You're kicking from different spots and all that. This isn't an unprecedented thing. Something Mike Reese has been on since the start of the year, because that 2000 Raiders team was the last team to have a rookie kicker and punter at the same time. Sure. And, Janikowski and Leckler, I think, were a little bit rocky at points their rookie year, and that worked out for them long term. I mean, not drafting the kicker in the first, but the actual player himself worked out for them. And you know what? Ryland has been rough this year, but that doesn't mean you give up on him.
Well, right.
He has enough talent that you're giving him at least through camp.
100%. And to me, it was the situation for me was that I looked at it and said, okay, you're going to have to go into camp with a guy you think is going to replace Ryland. And then you give Ryland a chance to beat him out, right? If Ryland can build off of that, you only get 2 games left, and they don't typically attempt a ton of field goals, which is kind of the problem. But fine. But if you see more of the same from him, like you saw at the end of this game, then you get to a situation where we're still going to have a camp battle, but that camp battle is going to be him being the guy and somebody else trying to take his job, as opposed to the other way around. Right. And that's kind of how I look at it, is that you're going to bring in a guy. You should 100% bring in a guy because you saw him struggle. It still could be there. He still might come back next year and struggle. But you at least feel good about him being your starter. And you can sit there and say, all right, we'll bring in a guy. He'll compete, but the guy's going to have to beat Ryland out for the job. So so we'll see. I think people overreact a little bit. I don't blame people for being upset about it. But it was cause for concern, and it still could be a cause for concern. But it was nice to see him step up and hit a long field goal to win the game.
Well, and you talk about guys executing at like the end of games too. Rylan now is kind of 1 for 2 in situations like that. He has the miss against the Giants, and the other dude who is a huge part of this is Devontae Parker with the catch, who's kind of 1 for 2 in situations like this with the Raiders game. And you make both of those plays and you finish those 2 victories, and you add 2 more wins to this team right now. You get lucky anywhere else this season instead of the bounces they've gotten, and suddenly you are in the hunt with wins over, Denver and Pittsburgh, and you find a way to win that Colts game, and with all the bad luck and all the way things have gone poorly for them this season, they're still a couple bounces away from being in the hunt, and that's life in the NFL. It's why I think they're closer to being a team picking in the back half of the top 10 than the top half of the top 10 based on how they've played this year and like their actual performance outside of some really fluky stuff and injury luck.
Yeah, true.
Which is obviously still not where you want to be. And this team is, we want to win Super Bowls. That's the standard, and we're far off from that. But I think, I know it's so. Well, I answer the question because I think Berg had asked it in the chat about how we feel about Bill, and this is where this stuff starts to go into that. And it's you try to figure out how much of this year's team is bad luck and how much of it is bad coaching. And I see a lot of bad luck around. I see a lot of it in a lot of different spots. I see bad coaching too, and I see bad players, and I see bad GM stuff. I see a lot of bad things that need to change. But I think when you see the way the locker room is bought in on Bill Belichick, and the fact that he drafted a wide receiver, he got Demario Douglas, who looks like a real NFL starter. He's right around Deion Branch's rookie numbers right now. And Christian Gonzalez looks great. Marty Mapu, I think, is starting to figure it out. Keon White, I think, had a really nice game. He didn't get a sack, but we saw pressures on Sunday night.
Man, Mapu's another guy that hit extremely hard Sunday night.
When he wraps up, he hits. And that's something you saw in his college tape, too. That's one of the reasons you bring him in. I think it would be a lot tougher to move on from Bill if you finish the season strong and it looks like he's coming off his best draft class in a while.
Yep.
That's a tough spot to part from him, and that with the locker room still bought in, it seems kind of in hindsight when you view the big picture of the team that this was a mediocre team with some poor depth at a couple spots and a bad quarterback that had the depth exposed immediately and that didn't figure out the quarterback situation to even a basic NFL competency level degree until after the bye week. And even that's a little bit of a stretch. Yeah. And that tells you that you improve depth in some places and improve the talent on offense and find a quarterback, and this team will be right back up there where they should be, which is hard. Those are all hard things to do, but it's also things that take time. And there are a lot of coaches out there that get 2 or 3 tries at trying to get those things right. And I think giving Bill just one after what he's done probably isn't fair. Again, unless we factor in the age.
Well, so then that's where we have to go back and forth. You know what I mean? And there's, I think that's got to be a different conversation because we're too far into this one to have this whole Bill conversation right now. We've had it already. We're going to have it again. We're going to have it all really for the next 2 weeks. And I understand that, we're not going to have it all off season because at some point they're going to have to make a decision on him. But I do wonder if the age factors into it, but we'll figure it out. So also, oh wait, nope, that's not the one. City Champs, okay, says that, Zappy's going to go and, no one wants to play us right now, first of all, which is funny, but he says he's going to go into Buffalo and slay Allen and win. So here's what I'm going to tell you right now. Okay, Matt, here we go. Just so we're all on the same page.
What's coming?
Clip this if you need to. We'll come back to it, okay? If Bailey Zappi and the Patriots win the next 2 games, beat Buffalo in Buffalo, beat the Jets at home last game of the season, and now Bailey Zappi has to throw at least 1 touchdown pass
in each game.
If that happens, okay, I will buy a Bailey Zappi jersey, right? One of those shirt jerseys, and I will run a 5K. I'm not going to run a half marathon, but I'll run a 5K wearing the Bailey Zappi jersey.
You are 100%. You are just putting it all out there for no reason, right?
100%. I'll do it. No chance it's going to happen. I feel 100% confident about it. I'm not worried about it. So if that happens, I'm telling. So here it is. If Bailey Zappi and the Patriots win the final 2 games of the season in Buffalo, home against the Jets, I will buy a Bailey Zappi jersey and I will run a 5K in the Bailey Zappi jersey. So there you go.
Love that. Yeah. I love that. But no, oh my God. I will say, while we're wrapping up and talking about this, it's heartwarming to see the reactions of the guys after games like this too. And I mean, you watch the locker room post game with Bill, and you could put that into any season at any point in the Patriots dynasty run, and it fits. The fact that you're seeing a locker room like that and it feels the same in the season like this, I think speaks again volumes to what it's like. You see Matthew Slater there speaking words of inspiration to everybody, and the way they listen to him. The guy who could, be put him in any role in this team and just let him hang around and be a culture guy. Once he retires, let him do whatever he wants to hang out. But the way that the team rallies around Ryland, I think, is also like it's a good thing. It's easy. It's one thing for us fans to yell from our couches and say, "Hey, cut the kicker." That's easy to do.
Right.
Sometimes you see that with the team because they get frustrated, and they're not doing that. Obviously, it's easier after he makes the game-winning field goal.
Obviously, right? Yeah.
Nobody's getting down on him. They're all, even though he is clearly down on himself after the game and frustrated he missed in the first place, they're all rallying around him.
Yeah.
And you see guys playing with confidence, and see what David Andrews and Christian Barmore, leaders on the line of scrimmage on both sides, had to say about the locker room, about the guys, about Bill Belichick after the game. You got to feel good for the players to finally have all of this hard work rewarded. And 2 wins in 3 weeks for these guys is good. They're going to try to turn it into something and play spoiler here down the stretch against Buffalo. And I love these guys. The team isn't very good, but I do really like most of the players.
I agree, and it becomes a situation too where they've already played spoiler, right? You dealt a blow to Pittsburgh. You just dealt a blow, to Denver, to their playoff chances, right? And so that's a situation where it can be fun. And again, if we look back, we could look back at it one day and say, man, sucks they won those games because we could have had this guy or that guy or whatever. But I just think enjoy it while it's here. And yes, do you want to lose to get the number 1 pick? Do I want Caleb Williams to be the quarterback for the Patriots next year? Yeah, but there's also no guarantee that he's going to be a great player. So we don't know that for sure, right? So those are the things for me where I look at it and say, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's enjoy winning, because the Patriots have won a ton lately and haven't won a ton lately. Won a ton for 20 years and then haven't won a ton lately. Is what I'm trying to say here. So let's enjoy it, and and then we'll deal with that in April when we have to. And the Belichick question is something we'll talk about as we go through, and I think that's going to be kind of certainly not all of what we're going to talk about on Wednesday, but I feel like that's going to be a big thing for me. Is what are they going to do with Belichick? We can preview the Bills, but really, if it was
50-50 on Bill kind of coming out of the bye, I think you have to keep him with what you've seen. If that's where the Crafts were. If the Crafts were already set on it, then I don't think they're changing their mind, and I wouldn't blame them for that. I think that's a totally acceptable thing, and I think as Patriots fans in general, I think we as a group should get used to the idea that there are multiple ways to handle this going forward that are acceptable and appropriate given the results on the field and the circumstances around the leadership of this team. And we're going to have to sit back and let the Crafts, do it. They got a good track record, and they're going to have to do something that's going to be somewhat controversial either way. And I think we're going to have to rally around whatever it ends up being. I don't think there's any point. If they decide to move on from Bill Belichick, I can get behind that. And if they want to keep him, I can get behind that. I think there's no use, prolonging it. Well, let's make something and commit to it and go into next season and hope it works out.
And no matter what happens, people are going to be upset. If you keep Bill, people are going to be upset. If you get rid of Bill, people are going to be upset. It's just there's no way around it. He is the greatest coach of all time. You can make the argument either way. And so that's where it becomes all right, what do we do? I don't know, and so the Crafts have to make that decision and kind of go from there. So So we'll see. But anyways, all right. Let's. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. We're going to be back Wednesday night. And again, the Patriots. Look, they won. It's okay. Celebrate the win. It's all right.
Yeah.
Hope everyone had a great holiday. I know I had a ton of fun with my kids. They had a blast. They got a ton of good stuff from Santa Claus, and they had a blast all day. And it's just great. It's always great hanging with family. I just love it. It's my favorite thing to do, and so I'm always happy to see that. But anyways, I hope you had a great holiday too, Matt, and we're gonna be back Wednesday night. And again, obviously previewing the Bills, but I think we'll have a longer conversation about the Belichick situation and where they should go from here, because I think that that's really an interesting question, and a question that we're going to have to answer sooner rather than later.
Yep. And with that, also send in mock drafts if you want us to take a look at them on Wednesday. Those are going to get real spicy here. And I think while we talk about the Williams and May thing here to wrap up and the mock drafts and all that, I also think it's worth remembering here, they could finish with the 4th pick and possibly still be in a QB spot, because, and not just Jaden Daniels, because, if the Bears decide they want to keep Justin Fields, which I don't think is likely, but is possible, they might stay there. And the Cardinals, if they want to keep Kyler Murray, they might just stay there. And I think both of those teams have 2 first-round picks this year. They might not be that incentivized to trade back. They might say, hey, we got another pick in this anyway. Let's stay at 1 and 2 and take a guy who we really like, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. or a tackle or whomever. And if that's how the first 2 picks go, then whether it's May or Williams at 4, in theory, you're going to have access to one of them. And, you might have availability for a trade up there if teams are looking to trade back. So this thing isn't done yet. If you're a Caleb Williams or a Drake May guy, and that's what you want for New England. Also, somehow in there, I only just realized that there's a shot that Drake May goes to Washington and he follows up Sam Howell again. Somehow I'd hate that dude after that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I do think on that point, I think Arizona's keeping Kyler because they kind of almost have to. I don't know if they can get out of that contract. They drafted a tackle last year. The Bears drafted a tackle last year. So you got to assume neither of those guys are going to draft a tackle, but they can both use a wide receiver. And so you might see a wide receiver go, 1 or 2. If you're drafting 3, that means that Drake May or Caleb Williams are going to be available at 3, if that's the case, right? If Marvin Harrison Jr. goes 1 or 2, Drake May or Caleb Williams is going to be sitting there because there's only one other player that's going to get drafted, right? So we'll see what happens. But again, if the Patriots lose out there at 3, and again, I don't know if the math's 100% correct on that, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, they're 2,000.
They're either 3 or 4.
Yeah, they're 2,000ths of a percentage behind Washington. Washington's going to jump up after. I mean, San Fran looks like they're going to lose this game, but still, San Fran and Dallas are going to jump up. They're going to change the strength of schedule for them. And so I think that, the Patriots are going to end up in that 3 spot, assuming that they both lose out. But who knows?
Well, and there's also,
but that's what I think.
Washington could go beat Dallas because Dallas is resting guys too.
Yep.
That's going to be something. So we'll get into the real draft order stuff probably before week 18 when we know what the actual scenarios are going to be. That's probably not worth getting too into it now. But I think the other thing to remember is at this point in the 2020 season, the top 2 quarterbacks are Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. And that's kind of where we were at that point. And this is around where Zach Wilson started to creep up. And, it's not crazy to think that there's a team above New England that maybe likes Jaden Daniels and May or Williams end up being QB3 off the board if those are your guys. And obviously we talk about Jaden Daniels. Maybe he's the guy New England likes in this whole thing and they're able to draft him. So they're not screwed at quarterback because they won this game and they got options, and we're just going to have to see what happens in the coming weeks.
I agree. So, all right. Anyways, well, thanks for coming along. We appreciate it. Hope you guys had a great holiday. Hope if you're like me and have the week off, hopefully you have a great week off. If not,
I got to work tomorrow.
Good luck at work this week. But either way, we'll be back with you on Wednesday night, talking all of this stuff, including we'll throw in a lot more Bill Belichick conversation. So thanks for listening. Thanks for contributing in the chat as always. We appreciate
Yes,
you guys.
active again. Love it.
Oh
Love
yeah,
it, guys.
yeah, it's the best. So thank you very much, and we will talk to you on Wednesday night.